Wild About Wheels is taking you on a picnic to the beautiful town of Deerfield, Massachusetts in the western part of the state. And here comes our ride. A collection of one of the most curious, unconventional, and nonconformist automobiles ever built. The French Citroen. This is the 15th year of what is called the Citroen Quarterly Rendezvous. And before we talk to some of the people and get a close look at these somewhat weird French collectibles, a quick history lesson. André Citroen was the son of a Jewish diamond merchant and became a successful industrialist in France in the early 1900s. His first production automobile was this 1919 Citroen, which was the first European car to be produced on an American-style assembly line. Over the next 20 years, Citroens maintained a strong reputation for simplicity and availability and became somewhat the French equivalent of the German Volkswagen, a car for the masses. Citroen also introduced such ideas as repair manuals, free servicing, installment payment plans, and even set up schools for their salesmen. In 1934, this car created tremendous interest due to its revolutionary front-wheel drive, the 1934 Traction Avant. In 1949, perhaps the car which best symbolizes the Citroen philosophy of doing things their own way was introduced, the 2CV, or 2 chevaux. It was produced continually from 1949 until very recently, and has often been referred to by less diplomatic automotive critics as the world's ugliest car. In 1955, Citroën began production of the DS model, which was one of the most advanced cars of the post-World War II period. Other Citroën models would follow, such as the SM, or Sports Maserati, relating to the merger which occurred with the Italian car builder 2 decades ago, and the CX, boasting that ever-extraordinary Citroën profile. We wanted to get the inside scoop on what unique design and engineering features have always placed the Citroën a giant step or two off the main drag of conventional ideology. Ron Mowry brought an AK400 van, which got us off to a good start.
If you put a load in the back of the car, you've not only got your normal high-low beam, but you've got a little adjustment knob. You can actually adjust, see how those headlights are out on pods? You can actually adjust the headlights forward or backwards depending on the load you have in the car. So you don't have to have your headlights in the trees if you've got a load in. You just lower them down.
In here they keep the spare and the hand crank wheel wrench. This wheel wrench also will take the front fenders off. And it probably does a few other things that I haven't found out yet. This is the window mechanism. No hand cranks to screw up on that one. Do have to watch out for your fingers though. If you slam the door and the thing comes loose on them. That's why the French developed the guillotine.
Michael Cox is one of the event organizers and owns this 1967 DS21 Cabriolet.
Actually, you see the car over here, the convertible. It's a DS21. A DS is a play on words because the French word DS is for goddess. The other model in that range was the Idée, French for idea.
Nobody has ever been ambivalent about the design of the Citroën. Although it has enjoyed immense sales success in Europe for much of this century, it has also been seen as a little bit too obtuse for American tastes. New Citroëns are no longer imported into the United States, but this picnic was vivid evidence that there are many of them still turning heads wherever they go. Hank Turner owns a 1957 Traction Avant.
You drive it into a parking lot, and people just show up out of the woodwork. What is it? Wow, that's great. You know, you could buy a Porsche for 10 times what I've got into this and for what it's worth and not attract that kind of attention.
Most car buffs know that Citroëns ride on a bizarre kind of suspension setup that predates today's lowriders by some 30 years. Dave Paulin talks about it.
It's a function of the hydraulic fluid in a cylinder banging against a pneumatic sphere which contains high-pressure nitrogen separated by a rubber bladder, 1 unit on each wheel. It gives a totally independent suspension and totally unified suspension also.
And if you thought Preston Tucker was the only visionary to produce headlights that follow the front wheels, well, a Citroën proves that Tucker's idea lived on. Citroëns and their owners represent true cosmic matchmaking that dictates that eventually, no matter how improbable the car, it will wind up in the hands of someone who appreciates it. And let's face it, the Citroën may have the kind of face only its mother could love, but then again, love is blind.
This doesn't look like any other car, which when you look down a row of cars today, they all have lack of personality. I like cars to sit in the yard and kind of smile at me or have a little face, you know.
And besides, how many cars can literally rise above the crowd.